Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Bienvenidos.
My name is Lady B. I'm also known as Miss Alex, and I am Lavender Blues. This song is off our album, The Remixes. You can find it on YouTube or your favorite digital platform. Just search Lavender Blues. This is I Love Me. Get it, tell me. Love yourself, this is the anthem for loving yourself. Wrap your arms around and hug yourself. This is the anthem for loving yourself. Wrap your arms around and hug yourself. I love my fingers, I love my toes, I love my knees and even my nose. These are the things that are mine, and I love them all just fine. Cause I am me, and I love me, and all the things I can be. Stand tall, be proud, live life dreaming out loud. Show the world who you are, shine brighter than a star. I clap my hands, I stamp my feet, I can even move to the beat. I love my fingers, I love my toes, I love my knees and even my nose. These are the things that are mine, and I love them all just fine. Cause I am me, and I love me, and all the things I can be. Stand tall, be proud, live life dreaming out loud. Show the world who you are, shine brighter than a star. I clap my hands, I stamp my feet, I can even move to the beat. For loving yourself, wrap your arms around and hug yourself. This is the anthem. For loving yourself, wrap your arms around and hug yourself. I clap my hands, I stamp my feet, I can even move to the beat. I love my fingers, I love my toes, I love my knees and even my nose. These are the things that are mine, and I love them all just fine. Cause I am me, and I love me, and all the things I can be. Stand tall, be proud, live life dreaming out loud. Show the world who you are, shine brighter than a star. I clap for loving yourself, wrap your arms around and hug yourself. This is the anthem for loving yourself, wrap your arms around and hug yourself. Show the world who you are, shine brighter than a star. I clap my hands, I stamp my feet, I can even move to the beat. I love my fingers, I love my toes, I love my knees and even my nose. These are the things that are mine, and I love them all just fine. Woo!
Wonderful. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Lady.
so much, everyone. Thank you so much. My name is Lady B. I'm also known as Miss Alex, and I am Lavender Blues. My goal is to have every bunny, every child under 3 start their life with me, Lady B, and Lavender Blues, early childhood program designed specifically and especially for under 3s. You can find out all about me at lavenderbluesmusic.com. Lavenderbluesmusic.com. I hope to see you soon. Bye.
Wonderful. Thank you
Maravilloso.
so much, Lady B of Brooklyn, for that wonderful anthem for children that you presented for us. And as she said, you can find her at lavenderbluesmusic.com. My name is Shanita Bowen, and we have so many childcare activists in the house today. We are powerful. I have a couple of quick announcements for Spanish speakers. Please go to the interpreter button on your Zoom window so that you can make the switch and have interpretation service. Our social media hashtag today is hashtag Save New York Childcare. Our targets are at New York Gov Cuomo, also at MA Majority Leader Carl Hasty, and Speaker Stuart Cousins at Speaker Stuart Cousins. Please use the social media today to share your excitement, praise our speakers, and call on all our targets to prioritize childcare in the state budget. I hope you're all excited as I am to be gathered today here, showing our strength, uniting even in these very difficult times to stay in the world that childcare is special, it's needed, it's a public good, it's an economic necessity, and a profession that deserves respect and fair pay. So many people working together to get today to make sure that this event is possible, and we don't have time to acknowledge everyone, but please take the time to look at your program agenda. Let's move the program right along. We have a special request to allow one of the Senate champions, Senator Shelley Meyer, Chair of the Senate Committee on Education, to speak now. And since she's scheduled to address her Senate Majority Conference members at 1 p.m., we'd like her to speak now. Senator? Is Senator Meyer here? Okay, so we can take a few moments, see if she's showing up. And
we'll need to move on.
Okay, so I want you to meet a colleague of mine, Cherish Davis, owner and director of Queen City Early Childhood Center in Buffalo, who will introduce our very first featured speaker. Cherish.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cherish Davis, as Shanita mentioned, and I am here in Buffalo, New York. And I'm excited to introduce Sade Moonsamy. This is an amazing day and an inspiring event. It's my pleasure to again introduce Sade Moonsamy, Chief of Staff at Family Values at Work. This is a national organization of 27 state organizations fighting for economic justice issues, including paid leave, paid sick and safe days, and childcare. She is also a mom, a doula, a fierce advocate for racial and gender and economic justice. Her background as an organizer, facilitator, healthcare advocate, and family services manager shape her commitment to creating a world where all families are valued. Sade says she is inspired by her mother, her daughter, and women of color organizing their communities, both nationally and globally, for a just society. So next up, we have Sade.
Thanks so much, Cheris. Welcome everyone to the Empire State Child Care Advocacy Day. My name is Sade Moonsamy, and I'm here representing Family Values at Work, a national network of more than 27 states fighting for the rights of families for paid leave and childcare. I'm here to tell you that we at Family Values at Work are with you and behind you. All across the country, parents and providers just like you are saying, we will not sit back when my family is struggling. We will not sit back when our communities are struggling, and that we will fight for an economy that centers our families. 2020 was a year of heartbreak, challenge, fear, and struggle. It would have been easy for us to call it quits and crawl under the covers, but so many of you showed up to work, despite the risk to your own health and that of your families, because we know New Yorkers never give up, and neither did we. Instead, we came together from all across the country, sharing our losses and challenges and our ideas. We lifted our voices and made sure that our elected officials knew just how hard things were on an already fragile childcare system, and demanded at least $50 billion in federal funding to stabilize and support childcare workers, children, and their families. And our voices were heard. Congress passed $13.5 billion in childcare relief last year. Not enough, but this was a real important start for us. And just before he took office, now President Biden announced that he would fight for 40 million more to get us to that 50 billion level. He can't do it without Congress, and they can't do it without increased pressure from us. We need immediate relief. And we need to build back better with a childcare and early learning system that centers marginalized communities. This relief must have 4 priorities. It must be universal and consider the needs of Black and Latinx families and women, all of whom still face enormous institutional discrimination. It must address affordability and availability for families. We must fight for expanded hours, for nights, for weekends that serve all of our working families. Third, it must center childcare jobs as good jobs with good wages and good benefits and the right to unionize. And lastly, it must guarantee high quality childcare that centers cultural competency for our diverse families, that takes language equity into consideration, that centers our children with disabilities and supports our children's parents and providers' mental health. The sobering reality is that the average New York childcare worker makes just over $25,000 a year. And the average cost of childcare in New York is close to $13,000 per year. And these numbers are unacceptable. Today, we are coming together to demand that our leaders include $500 million for childcare and early education so that New York's economy can recover. New York's children can be safe and New York parents and caregivers can get back to work with the peace of mind that their children are in good care. I also have exciting news to share that has inspired me, and I hope that it will continue to inspire you. Grassroots activists in New Mexico, after almost a decade of organizing and activism, just won a constitutional amendment. They are now the first state to make childcare a constitutional right. Today's event is amazing and has been organized to show your power. So please take what you hear today and keep fighting for the budget funding you need and for the childcare system you believe in. Today, we are really excited for you to hear the many ways you can uplift the voices in this fight. And I thank you all so much for having me today, and I look forward to continuing to fight alongside you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sade. We know New York is up to the challenge. Are you quoting her on social media, everyone? Remember the hashtag Save New York Childcare. And at this time, we're gonna circle back around to the Senator Mayor, and she is here, and we'd like to give her the opportunity to talk. Senator?
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry to jump ahead of, so I see a number of my colleagues here. It's so good to see them. Senate and Assembly colleagues who are in the same fight. And I just asked for the opportunity to go quickly as the chair of the Education Committee because we have conference and I need to talk about schools. But let me just say, this is sort of another one of the equity issues of our time. Together with education, childcare is the fundamental equity basically for women to be able to be in the workforce, which they have been in huge numbers throughout COVID, and to continue to work, and at the same time to provide continuity of quality care for our children. Together with Kathy Hallis, the director of the Child Care Council of Westchester, we submitted an op-ed that was published recently urging that the next federal stimulus amount of childcare money get out the door faster. Stop having bureaucratic boundaries that stop the money from going to those who need it the most, which is our small centers, some of our big centers, our centers which reflect the diversity of the communities we represent. So we are urging them, find a better way. We have a proposal that it go to counties, to social service districts that know how to get money out the door, rather than letting the state with its big bureaucracy and the difficulty in getting answers be the way the money is funded. So that's part one. Two, we have to fight for more money in the budget. We're pushing for more revenues. Childcare is an opportunity to build back, not to have a budget of attrition, but a budget of investment and growth, and believing that New York will recover from this. And for childcare, for all of you who represent that world, we're so appreciative of what you do. And I just want to credit the advocacy community of childcare. Several years ago, we talked about how to make sure that these voices include all of the providers and all of the women who work and reflect the diversity of working women, particularly throughout New York City. As someone who represents a diverse suburbs of New York City, which is many of my communities are majority minority, the childcare community is so important to all of our communities, and we have to make sure that voice sounds loud and clear. So I'm so pleased that today's this Zoom call represents all of the state geographically and all of the people who serve our kids. So we're in it with you to fight to the end, to get more money, and to see the money get out the door. It's one thing to fight for money, but if it's stuck in some agency, that is not acceptable. So I look forward to working with you, fighting with you. Childcare is, as I say, along with schools, the equity issue of our time, and we'll all be together on this as we fight ahead. Thank you for letting me come by.
Thank you, Senator Bridgeport. I'm sorry, Senator Mayor. I'm sorry, Senator Bridgeport is scheduled to speak next, but thank you so much, Senator Mayor, for your words, and everything you said is so on point, and we appreciate your championship. Senator Bridgeport?
I'm here, and thank you, Shanita. And one honor to be accidentally called Senator Mayor, because she is doing incredible work on the Education Committee and really standing up for children. I want to give one extra shout out to Lady B for a fantastic performance, and also as a fellow Brooklynite, thank you for representing. So hi everybody, I am Senator Bridgeport, former middle school teacher, current senator, state senator in Brooklyn. I'm also the chair of the Children and Families Committee, and I'll keep my comments brief because, like my colleague, I also have to get into conference at 1, but I do want to reiterate that, you know, childcare is essential work. You know, I saw somebody sing it in the chat, but there will be no economic recovery if people cannot have access to childcare so they can go back to their jobs. But I would also pose that childcare is essential in a pandemic or not. You know, it is critical for ensuring that families are whole and that you know, children have access to the resources that they need. So I was actually speaking with, you know, a representative from the AFL-CIO earlier today who said, you know, you can never fund these programs enough. So you can count on me as an ally in making sure there are no budget cuts. I'm going to emphasize again something Senator Mayer says, which is that we are fighting for a larger budget this year so that we can adequately fund it and, you know, hopefully expand some of these programs, and count me as an ally in the fight. And have an amazing rally and incredible press conference. And thank you all for being here. I'm stoked by the number of people that have joined this call. So thank you also to the organizers for bringing so many people onto this call to talk about the future, which is, you know, when we invest in our children, we're investing in our own future. So thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Senator Bridgeport, and again, Senator Mayer, for your support in saving childcare. Your help is valuable, your voice. And we're going to keep this moving along. We are scheduled to speak with Senator Tim Kennedy, who is not available at this time. So I just want to take a moment to say that the Empire State Campaign for Childcare is made up of providers, parents, educators, employers, and advocates from all across New York State. They've put this event together with Winning Beginning. We've organized this event through the efforts of volunteer leaders, parents, providers, advocates, local child care council, and referral center staff working together in 8 different regions throughout New York. In this house tonight, we have Western New York, Rochester and surrounding counties, Central New York, the Southern Tier, Capital Region, Northern New York, the Hudson Valley, Long Island, and New York City. Providers and parents are tuning in during nap time, using their lunch breaks, squeezing time from their already packed schedule. So we so appreciate everyone who could tune in today. I understand Jasmine Gripper of the Alliance for Quality Education is here to represent. Jasmine, do you have a few words for us?
I'm not Jasmine, but I'm Marina Marco with the Alliance for Quality Education. And I know that I speak on behalf of the entire AQE staff and Jasmine when I say that I'm really excited to be here for this day. The Alliance for Quality Education is a grassroots parent organizing group. We are proud to be part of the campaign to save New York childcare. As a statewide organization that we're representing parents from Buffalo to Rochester, Central New York, Capital Region, Hudson Valley, and Long Island, and New York City. We are really proud to be here among everybody else. On a personal note, I became a mom while working for AQE, and I know firsthand that without quality and affordable childcare, I could not continue to work at all. As an advocate who's been at this and has been working on the issue for more than a decade, it baffles me that we do not invest enough in early education as a state when we know that it is one of the most successful strategies we can implement to help our children succeed. And the time is now. This is the time. This is an opportunity to invest in our New York, to invest in our early education system. And as the senators have said before me, it is time to raise revenues, to keep pushing in order to invest in our children. Listen to early childhood educators and parents who have been asking for this for so long. This is the time to save childcare and to invest in our New York. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marina, for speaking up and helping to represent childcare. Like to see if Danielle Judge of the Union of University Professionals would like to say a few words for us.
Actually, it will be Alyssa Carl speaking on behalf of UUP.
Okay.
But hello and welcome, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Danielle. My name's Alyssa Carl, and I'm really excited to join you all today on behalf of my union, which is United University Professionals. UUP is the union for the faculty and the professional staff at SUNY college campuses and hospitals. So given what we all do, we know that fully supported childcare is essential. One, because quality childcare is the first step in the education and the healthy lives of the students that people like me are eventually going to teach, and the patients that we heal in the SUNY hospitals. And second, good, fair wages and working conditions for care workers are as essential as the work that you do. So we want you to know that you have UUP's solidarity in the struggle to make sure that we've got fully supported childcare and the childcare workers get the support and the wages that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alyssa Carl. And also, we'd like to have a few words from Robin Chappelle from Planned Parenthood. Robin.
Greetings. Thank you so much. So happy to be here and standing with you. One of the cornerstones of reproductive justice is the ability to raise our children under safe and sustainable conditions, and access to childcare is fundamental to that idea. Quality childcare is essential to achieving financial stability for working families, yet for many New Yorkers, that's out of reach. The pandemic has posed even greater challenges, both in accessing and providing childcare, especially within marginalized communities and communities of color. Reproductive freedom is not possible if families can't access affordable childcare, and if our childcare workers are not invested in and valued for their critical role that they play. Planned Parenthood, Empire State Acts, and thousands of reproductive freedom advocates around the state are proud to stand with you. This is a critical fight for families and the workers and that we rely upon every day, and we want to make sure that they're cultivating the young minds and have the support to do so. So thank you so much for letting us speak out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robin Chappelle. And now we have Lisa Zucker of New York Civil Liberties Union.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me today. The New York Civil Liberties Union is the New York State affiliate of the ACLU. We have 8 offices across the state and over 190,000 members and supporters. Our mission is to defend and promote the fundamental principles and values in our federal and state constitutions. And I was super psyched to hear about the New Mexico success that childcare is a constitutional right. That should be next for us here in New York. The pandemic has brought into stark focus that New York's childcare system is broken. It is built on a framework that devalues caregiving and caregivers, serving neither children, working families, nor the hardworking people, overwhelmingly women, particularly women of color and immigrants, who provide this essential care. If New York Forward means anything, it must include fully and fairly funded quality childcare system that is accessible to all. NYCLU and its members are proud to support the Empire State Child Care Campaign and the Save New York Child Care Campaign, calling on Albany lawmakers and the governor to reimagine childcare and make universal access to quality childcare a top priority. New York's future leaders deserve nothing less. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa Zucker, for speaking on equity and childcare. Up next, we have Georgiana Panton of Planned Parenthood Empire Acts. Georgiana. Georgiana from Planned Parenthood, Empire State Acts.
I believe it's Robin Chappelle. Robin, are you coming on?
Yeah, I just spoke, so I think we're covered for Planned Parenthood. Thank you.
And Blue, are we going to proceed with our slide now?
Yes,
Slideshow?
okay, thank you. And, you know, we're juggling a lot of things here. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. A few mispronounced names, but we are all in the house. I'm Blue Carricker. I am an organizer with Empire State Campaign for Childcare. And I don't know how many hundreds of people are on this call, but it's a lot and it's exciting. And we are really thrilled to have you all here. It's really hard to get a sense of our numbers and our strength when we're virtual. You know, we can see maybe 15 pictures on our screen, but there's hundreds out there, which is so exciting. And this is kind of what it's like in COVID, right? We were missing that time that we could all come together in the state capitol or fill the streets because we know how much we care about this issue and how much we are ready to fight and win the funding that we need. So one of the ways that we try to give everybody a sense of our strength and our power is to ask people to share some photographs and share some slogans on ideas about why they are here today and why they are part of this movement. So we're about to show you a slideshow with a lot of those photos. I want to put up for a minute the social media hashtag information, because this is also a time that you can go out and tweet and post and let everybody know what's been going on today. And then after the slideshow, we'll come back for our next set of speakers. So Katie, can you put up that graphic for a minute?
Sure, give me just one moment, please.
I just put in the chat, we have about 500 people today.
Yes, 500. All right. That is so exciting. All right, here is our social media content today. Please use the hashtag SaveNYChildcare. Whenever you do it, we can really track all of the social media content that we have. And then we have sent out a social media toolkit. Please use those graphics and but also just tweet and post some of the things you've heard today that you think represent why you're here and what you're fighting for. Let's send some messages to our leadership in the legislature. So at NY Governor Cuomo, at Carl Hastie, at Leader Stuart Cousins. All right, time now for the slideshow.
I feel the current raging around me. Try to summon up my strength once more. I'm weary on this journey. Afraid I will not reach that distant shore. I cry for help, feel like I'm sinking. There is no one near me I can see, but there you are in the water with me. You take my hand and guide me graciously. Will you come with me on this journey? With every breath we take, keep reaching for the dawn. I know alone that I will falter. With a good friend near me, I will carry on. It's an illusion we carry with us as we wade on through the waters of our lives. We must be strong and hold our own here, but a helping hand will save us by and by. Will you come with me on this journey? With every breath we take, keep reaching for the dawn. I know alone that I will falter. With a good friend near me, I will carry on. Will you come with me on this journey? With every breath we take, keep reaching for the dawn. I know alone that I will falter. With a good friend near me, I will carry on. I know alone that I will falter. With a good friend near me, I will carry on. With a good friend near me, I will carry on.
What an amazing set of incredible images and photos of so many events and where we advocated for family childcare, for childcare in general across the state. I recognize so many wonderful leaders and just to see parents and families everywhere. Let's just keep doing that. And at this time, I want to pass the speaking over to Pam Wells, who's going to tell us a little more about why we're here. She's the president of CSEA Voice Local 100A. Pam.
Welcome to the Empire State Campaign for Childcare and Winning's Beginning, New York Save, New York Childcare Press Conference. Good afternoon. My name is Pam Wells, and I have been a childcare provider in Washington County for over 25 years. I also have the privilege to serve as president of CSEA Voice Local 100A. Our union represents almost 10,000 in-home childcare providers in New York State, outside of New York City. Our programs across the state are highly diverse. Small businesses, most owned and staffed by women of color who serve communities of colors. We are here today because as an early childhood educator, we know we hold the second most important position to the children, only being surpassed by their parents. Our position in the workforce runs parallel to every employee and employer, no matter how large or small. Childcare is essential to the recovery of our state and nation. Before the pandemic, childcare programs were already operating on a very narrow margin. And now, due to the decrease of enrollment and the increase of operating expense, it has become a greater challenge for our businesses to stabilize, and the risk of closure remains high. We are here today because we need a childcare subsidy system to be equitable. We need to increase eligibility and access to our most vulnerable children while limiting the parent copay to 10% of their household income. We need consistency across the county and state. Market rate reimbursement needs to be raised to the 75th percentile with a direct deposit option. And we need a commitment from our legislators to work toward our subsidy system becoming one that supports children and families based on cost of true care. Child care reimbursement needs to be based on enrollment, not attendance. We need to increase the early child care workforce compensation to sustain quality care. Our children need continuity of care. Research has shown that when caregivers foster attachment relationships that are responsive, predictable, nurturing, and individualized, and they are supporting a foundation for healthy development and lifetime learning. Early childcare educators need to make a living wage so they can stay in our field. To do this, we need government-funded support. Across the state, childcare providers did and continue to do everything they can to assist the essential workforce and their families. Many of our daycare homes are assisting school-aged children with remote learning, some having to hire new staff to support them and still maintain the quality of care to the younger children. Providers that are closed are trying to get open. The cost of care has surged due to the need of social distancing, protective gear, cost of operating, cleaning and disinfecting supplies, food, minimum wage increase, and additional expense for our staff. Many of us have utilized our savings and credit cards to remain open for our communities while we build back to our our pre-COVID enrollment. We need help. We need immediate, simplified access and distribution of existing and future childcare funding to support and address the immediate needs of providers and the families we serve. And last but not least, we are here because we have hope. Working together with you, our communities, our governor, and our legislation, we can create change and we will build back better. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam Wells, President of CSEA Voice, for speaking our truths and representing New York State Child Care. I'd like to pass some speaking time to Dee Dee Hill, the Director of Policy of the Schuyler Center for Analysis and Advocacy. Dee Dee.
Thank you, Shanita. Good afternoon. So as Shanita said, I'm Policy Director for the Schuyler Center. I'm also a co-facilitator of the Empire State Campaign for Childcare. And I'm also a mom of a teen and a tween. Both are childcare and after-school alums. So I know personally how essential childcare is. I want to first acknowledge the tremendous challenges facing New York families and the childcare providers who enable parents to work and who provide our children with a strong start. These challenges are real, they're extraordinary, they're overwhelming. But what I'm going to focus on right now is the opportunity that this moment presents New York, because there is real opportunity right now for New York to not just save and stabilize childcare, but also to strengthen and make it more equitable in all the ways that Pam just described, and also to set New York on a path to universal childcare. And here's why. First, New York has a plan. The governor convened a childcare availability task force about 2 years ago. It's been working hard ever since. And it will be releasing what we expect will be an ambitious set of recommendations to dramatically expand access to high quality childcare and to pay our hardworking childcare educators fair wages. And we're expecting these recommendations to be released any day. And then second, while the economic challenges facing New York right now are significant, New York has been awarded substantial federal relief funds that are earmarked for childcare. The state is expecting to receive nearly $450 million in the coming weeks. We also have some CARES Act childcare federal relief funds that were released in the spring and are still not spent. And so the way forward is clear. We call upon the governor to release the Child Care Availability Task Force recommendations without delay and immediately begin to strategically implement them in a way that drives emergency supports to struggling families and providers and strengthens the foundations of the child care system. And we urge the governor to act now using the federal relief funds that the state has. Please don't wait until the final budget is enacted. At the same time, we call upon the governor and the legislature to incorporate the task force recommendations within the final enacted budget and include the robust investment in childcare that we need to implement the recommendations and build towards sustaining a transformed system. And I just want to note, two of the most urgent reforms that New York families and the child care sector need right now to recover from the pandemic will also put New York on a path to universal child care. So, we can do this all in an aligned way. And that's why we need New York leaders in the state's emergency response, the right now, to make the child care subsidy system more equitable by eliminating unfair eligibility and copay variations across counties and communities, by prioritizing families with the greatest need, and by paying providers subsidy based on a child's enrollment, not daily attendance, as Pam discussed. And then we also urge New York, both in its emergency response and in the New York state budget, to ensure that the child care workforce is paid a living wage. We can't have high quality child care if we're neglecting to pay our hardworking, amazing educators. Looking ahead, New York may need to raise new state revenue to sustain this transformation. This should not stop New York from acting boldly now to meet the urgent needs of our children and families. This is our time, New York, to recognize and fund childcare as a public good that is accessible to all. Let's do this. Thank you. Shanita, you are on mute.
How did that happen? Okay. Thank you so much, Dee Dee Hill from the Schuyler Center, for highlighting those updates on what's going on legislatively and advocacy-wise in childcare. So many of us providers and families and others are just not aware of some of those facts that you've generously given us. And now I'd like to give some speaking time over to Assemblyman Hevesy. And he is the new chair of Children and Families Committee. Is the Assembly member ready?
I am ready. Thank you, Shanita. Good afternoon, everybody. So this is a privilege for me to be here. I was thinking about what to say right before I came on, and I thought it'd probably be smart for me not to opine about how important childcare is to 500 people who know it better than I do, so we can get a clap for that. And then also, I don't want to tell the people who had a terrible year last year dealing with childcare how bad it is. So here's what I think my function can be. Although I gotta tell you, I'm gonna call Dee Dee Hill before I speak at any one of these. She stole all of my good points. So I'm very upset with Dee Dee. But let me tell you why I agree with her. She is 100% right. What a great opportunity for childcare. And let me just tell you from my perspective where I think we are. So number one, can anybody by a show of hands remember the last time there was an infusion of cash for childcare from the government? Good. Nobody should be raising their hands. Right now, the state is going to have access to $456 million from the federal government. That's not stuff that we're waiting to be passed by the Biden administration. That is money that came out of, if you remember, the appropriation in December from Mitch McConnell. It's called the Consolidated Appropriations Act. And there's a joke in there. When Democrats do stimulus, they call it great things like the CARES Act or the HEROES Act. When Republicans do it, they call it the Consolidations Appropriations Act, which is just not as fun. But doesn't matter. There's money here. And that's for the first time ever. Plus, there's also movement by our executive, and I want to thank Sheila Poole and I want to thank the governor. One of the proposals in their executive budget is to use some of those funds to right-size the co-payments in New York State. And while their target is not where we want it to be, their proposal is to target 20% co-pays as the max you'll have to pay. We would like that to get down to 10%, and we would like to have those discussions. But the fact that they are looking to use that money to do that is a very positive sign. Two other points. These are childcare adjacent, but I know this is the right group to talk to. The governor has zeroed out money for facilitated enrollment for 1.5 million. Rest assured, we'll do everything we can to put it back. We put that back every year. And after school programming is another thing I wanted to touch on. The governor did not cut his Excelsior program, the program that he created. He did cut, however, 5 million from the Advantage after school program for kids that are disadvantaged. We're going to fight to push those back. And then finally, let me just add to what Dee Dee said. I am incredibly excited about the Child Care Task Force recommendations, and I think we need to give credit to my predecessor, former chairwoman Ellen Jaffe in the State Assembly. This was her creation. So the fruits of this tree should be given to her. So you got to give Ellen credit for putting this together. But I believe, like Dee Dee does, that if you just take this money and you add some more slots, that would be helpful. If you try to get a market rate for childcare, that would be helpful. But now I would suggest, and we'll have conversations about this over the next couple of weeks, you're looking for the beginning of systems change now. How do we do it better? How do we use this money, remembering that these are one shots? So the 456 million, that's great. It's not recurring. So you don't want to bank things that you're going to need in the future on that. But you do structural change. And we're going to have conversations about that over the next month, which is why I'm incredibly excited for the governor to release his child care task force so we can take a look at it and work with you to get them done. This is a great opportunity for us. I don't think anyone, any of my colleagues in the legislature or the governor or OCFS or any of us are going to look to squander this opportunity. We'll take advantage of it. We'll listen to you and take your expertise, and we'll go make childcare what it really needs to be in the state of New York. Our time is now. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to participate today.
Thank you, Assemblyman Hevesy, for always being that childcare champion for us. You've always been in our corner, and we really appreciate you. Next, I'd like to bring on Assemblywoman Dee Dee Barrett. She's the chair of the Veterans Affairs and Legislative Women's Caucus. Assemblywoman.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anita. And thank you to all of you, to the providers, to the advocates, to all of you who have done the work on the ground, to my colleague, Andy Hevesy, and to my shared name friend, Dee Dee Hill. I think this is really a tremendous outpouring of support, and I'm really honored to be part of it. I believe that we are finally understanding that that childcare is about economic development. It is about human rights. It is about families. It's about everything that we do, and we've seen the role of childcare and the need for childcare at every step of this pandemic, that it's been a key piece here. We participated this fall, the Legislative Women's Caucus, in a series of roundtables, and I think shout out to Jen O'Connor for her great work on that, that really got the voices across the state of providers and advocates to our members, to our Legislative Women Caucus members and other colleagues who joined in on these calls. And I just really want to kind of follow up on my own personal theme here, which is that caregiving itself is a looming crisis here in New York State, and New York State needs to lead, because even families where we are, managing to get the childcare piece of it covered have many other issues along the way, and often as a mother, and I see this so much as a women's issue, because the caregivers are predominantly women, and the underpaid and underappreciated, as Dee Dee Hill pointed out. It's a workforce issue for them, but it's also for our families, the ability to live their lives and be able to move forward, to make enough money to flourish and to be able to raise their own families, but also to care for other family members along the way. And as chair of Veterans Affairs, I see this so much with spouses who are dealing with the caregiving needs for their own spouse or their own partner. So it's a caregiving crisis that we need to address along the way. And I'm so pleased and proud to have the childcare community part of that. Thank you so much for all being here today and for all the work you do. Thanks, Shanita.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Barrett. We really appreciate you highlighting all of those that you have. It's so important to have wonderful champions as you all, as all of the Assembly members and senators who are here today. And now I'd like to turn over so that we could all hear from the voices of the grassroots. There are people here who are providers who'd like to talk. We have parents and business owners. This is a fight for us all. And so next, I'd like to bring on Andre Farrell, the founder of the Catmint Learning Initiative in Brooklyn. Andre?
Yes, hi, thank you. I'm happy to be here on behalf of my school and the Brooklyn Coalition and Brooklyn as a whole. My name is Andre Farrell. Our school, the Catmint Learning Initiative, proudly serves the community of Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, New York, with 11 staff and over 40 families and their children between the ages of 6 months to school age. Like many providers, our daily thoughts are, how will we continue to provide much needed educational services to children at this very critical stage if financial aid is not provided to childcare? COVID has amplified the numerous expenditures schools face in order to successfully ensure the health and safety of our school communities. From proper ventilation in classrooms to PPE equipment to extra contracted cleaning personnel for deep disinfecting to substitute staff. Prior to the pandemic, childcare programs function on very slim margins and deficits, affecting our ability to hire and retain adequate staff, maintain curriculum that is meaningful and challenging, and sustain school environments that remain a place that children can thrive in. I asked for more state funding because we simply need to put childcare first. $500 million is not a means to an end, but rather a declaration to begin building a more sustainable and stronger early childcare system. Financial aid allows higher pay salaries for educators, eliminating pay disparities amongst educators of color. Certified Black educators only make up 40% of the teaching population, where under the same system, children of color are 90% of the total student body. $500 million towards childcare also says, I am listening to the words of every childcare provider. We need less policing from the city and oversight agencies and more partnership building where clear and present communication about the future of our children can be had in equitable, thoughtful, and forward-thinking ways. State funding based on enrollment and not attendance means families won't experience service interruption of childcare, and schools will receive timely funding to support those efforts. Access to childcare shouldn't be determined based on your salary or locality. Continued and more than just enough subsidies can be the gateway to ending systemic disparities for children of less affluent neighborhoods and setting the stage for a much brighter trajectory of academic growth and promise of a better tomorrow. So let's make children and their families the real winners, invest and put children and childcare first.
Thank you, Andre Farrell. Very important to always hear from providers who are doing this every day and being able to express what our needs are. And at this time, we'd like to also hear from another provider who is Spanish speaking. And we need to hear from all types of providers and caregivers. Sarah Hodge, she is the owner of Sarah's Garden Daycare in Manhattan. And we'll just take a brief moment to do a little translation switch. Is that right, Blue?
So just to explain this, everybody give us a few minutes here. We are going to bring our translator back over into the English side of things. All right. And what you'll need to do, Sarah's going to speak in Spanish. If you want to hear the English interpretation of what she's saying, go to the bottom of your screen. In a minute, you'll see an option to push interpretation, and select English. And then you will get an English translation.
Okay, switching over now.
De nada. Ok, vamos a cambiarnos a lo que es inglés.
Okay, I think we're set.
Buenas tardes. Hola a todos. Mi nombre es Sarah Hodge. Resido en la ciudad de Nueva York y estoy representando a las proveedoras hispanas de esta ciudad. En esta oportunidad les informo que The Empire State Campaign, padres y proveedoras, estamos pidiendo $450 millones por el cuidado de educación a temprana edad. Estos son algunos de los puntos que nuestros legisladores deben tomar en cuenta para lograr un cuidado infantil efectivo. Primero, establecer igualdad y coherencia en el sistema de subsidios. Segundo, garantizar la adquisición de fondos y beneficios, especialmente para aquellos con mayor necesidad. Tercero, proteger las proveedoras por pérdidas en sus negocios debido al COVID-19. Cuarto, honrar y compensar la fuerza laboral de cuidado infantil. Señores legisladores, existen familias en espera de un subsidio para pagar el cuidado de sus hijos. Al mismo tiempo, existen proveedoras con sus negocios cerrados o sencillamente abiertos, pero desiertos. Pareciera que la industria está estancada o desapareciendo. Una industria que ha sido ignorada por generaciones. Ustedes pueden cambiar la historia de esta industria. Tal vez por una razón u otra, algunos de nosotros no necesitamos de este sector laboral. Sin embargo, pensemos en aquella juventud que alguna vez contribuyó con ustedes a ocupar esos puestos de decisión. Hoy, esa misma juventud está clamando justicia e igualdad. Todos queremos sobrevivir. Los invito a hacer un poco de meditación. $450 millones para el cuidado infantil significa una gran aportación a nuestra nación. Muchas gracias. Bendiciones a todos.
Thank you, Sarah Hodge.
Okay, we're going to switch now back to our regular English.
Okay, switching.
Gente que habla español se pueden mudar. Ya ahorita pronto voy a poder interpretar. ¿Ok? Ya pueden pasarse a la página. Otra.
Okay, we need to get the Spanish back over in the other room, please.
¿En español?
Hang on 1 second. There's a glitch. Can you give me a thumbs up, Maria? Okay, we're all set.
Great. Let's go ahead now. We have some new legislators in the House.
Yes. Thank you, Sarah Hodges, for speaking up for Spanish population and representing childcare and family childcare. Next, we have Assemblywoman Peoples-Stokes, the next minority leader.
In the Assembly.
In the Assembly, yes. Assembly Stokes.
Hi, this is Leah. She is not on just yet. If you can just give me a moment, she's on the floor.
Okay, let's switch to Senator Kennedy. I believe he's in the House, is he?
He's not quite here. He'll be here in a moment.
Okay, then Dr. Townsend.
Yes, hi. So next is Dr. Kimberly Townsend, President and CEO of Loretto in Central New York. Dr. Townsend, it's good to have you.
Thanks so much for having me. So I'm Kim Townsend, President and CEO of Loretto, And Loretto is a long-term care health system in central New York. We employ over 2,500 employees, and we care for 10,000 people a year across 19 sites in Onondaga and Cayuga counties. 65% of our frontline workers are single women of color, and frequently they're coming from those most impoverished zip codes in New York State. And our employees rely on childcare subsidies to assist with their childcare costs, and many of them also rely on public transportation, which really limits their options for childcare. So for us, childcare has been an ongoing issue. Unlike traditional employers, our employees work evening, night shifts, and weekend shifts, and they require childcare providers that accommodate those shifts. Frequently, people have irregular work schedules, and they need providers that can provide childcare at county subsidy levels, but they also really need sick child care, and they also need before and after school care. So at Loretto, we really explored the possibility of opening a child care center on site, but the flexibility and affordability of it made it really impossible for us to do. So I want to thank you for all that you do to support New York State's workers. And when COVID hit Loretto, we did a survey of our employees, asking them about their childcare needs. And we had about 200 employees respond within 15 minutes. And what we found was the greatest need was for 6 to 12-year-old care. And we really needed it to be in people's neighborhoods because of challenges with public transportation. So even when Onondaga County opened up a number of free childcare slots, our employees were not able to take advantage of it because those slots and the time frames that those centers were open did not align with their schedules. And so 78% of our employees report that they use in-home childcare providers. Frequently, they rely on family members because that's what their subsidy, their childcare subsidies support. So the lack of affordable, flexible childcare is going to continue to be a real barrier to our employees progressing in their careers. And until we rethink the system and make those necessary investments that all of you are talking about today, we're going to continue to see barriers to employment and a path to prosperity for so many employees. I support the recommendations that this group is making today to improve access to high quality, highly affordable childcare for all families. And I hope that you're going to continue to advocate for these changes so that we can see a more just, fair, and equitable system where everyone who wants a job can hold a job knowing that their children are receiving the very best care. Thank you for the opportunity to chat with your group today.
Thank you, Dr. Townsend, for sharing your thoughts on all of that, and your voice is very important to us. Now I'd like to bring on the Assembly Majority Leader, Crystal Peoples-Stokes. Is she available now?
No, ma'am. She's coming from the floor right now. She's still running it. Just give me one moment. We had 1:40 scheduled.
I see, we're a little early. And again, we'd like to have the voice of parents speak to shed their light on this situation as well. Next to speak would be Charlene Phillips, a parent from Buffalo. Charlene Phillips.
She's on, but she's on mute.
Okay.
Charlene, can you get off mute?
Hello. Hi, my name is Charlene Phillips, and I represent the parents here at the daycare that I work at in Buffalo, New York. I'm a married mom. I have 4 beautiful children. I'm an adult daughter, Ebony, she's 23, and I have 3 younger children. Ayana is 7, Emmanuel is 5, and Elijah is 4 years old. And we had to make the difficult decision during the pandemic. Could we afford to have our children stay in the daycare? Because I was working as an essential worker, and then my husband was at home. And we looked at how could we afford the daycare with the subsidy being high, and then the demand of being an essential worker, and needed to be there on my job and not knowing how long I needed to stay. And I look at, okay, can I do this? Can we afford this each week? And there was a lot of things we had to consider. We did make the decision to leave our children in daycare, and it was the best decision that we could have made. And our children thrived. We had wonderful daycare providers, and even our youngest, who's special needs, he did exceptionally well during the pandemic. And I've been a child care worker for 25 years. And it's a struggle each time where you want to get ahead, but then you really can't because you look at crunching numbers. If I work this many hours, then I got to take something else away because now my copay is going to rise. And then you take one step forward and you take 2 steps back, because every time you make more money or you try to help out your job with all of the demands that they need as an essential worker, you say, oh, I got to recertify, but I'm scared to because I don't know if I'm going to get cut off from my subsidy. And without the subsidy, I can't work. It's too high. I don't get any benefits at work. And even though I have a husband, we still look at as a family, and paying the family copay is still like a mortgage payment, if you really want to put it in numbers, that we maintain each month. But then we lose out on special vacations. Like, wouldn't you like to go to Disney World? Wouldn't you like to go to a special restaurant? Um, wouldn't you like to buy your kids things and it not be a special occasion like a birthday or Christmas? And so that's why us as parents, we're advocating that something be done differently with these subsidies. We want to get ahead, but we're always pushed back because the subsidy, it gets cut off. The more you do to better yourself, it lessens you as a parent, because then that's more money you got to think about, got to come out of your budget. And you want to get ahead and you want to do better, but how can that be accomplished when you steady have this subsidy that's leering in your head like, okay, I want to help my job out. I want to stand in for those who can't work, but then I'm putting myself in jeopardy trying to help others out. And so that's why we need to allocate better dollars where we can still be better Americans working, but not suffer a setback because this subsidy guideline has us so restricted where we can't even rise above because there's just not enough wiggle room. How are you supposed to pay your bills when you know you have this X amount of dollars that have to be set aside for your subsidy? And this real talk. This is how we live as parents. Like these bills, they got to get paid. But then if I don't pay the subsidy, then my kids, they can't enjoy the luxury of being in a daycare that they love and that they're thriving. And the remote learning is beautiful where they're at. And I don't want to lose that, but I don't always want to be down either. I want to, say this is an accomplishment and not sacrifice any of my dollars that got to be put in other places just to say, yes, I've done this. So I definitely want to have something more done where we can enjoy the best of both worlds, have our subsidy at an equitable price for us, and still enjoy the fruits of life.
Thank you
And
so
not
much,
lose them.
thank you so much, Charlene.
You're
I
welcome.
want to say that your thoughts were very important on behalf of parents who have to deal with subsidy issues. I just want to make sure we give the majority leader, Crystal People-Stokes, her opportunity to speak, and I know she's pressed for time. Hi, Assembly Member.
Hi, how are you all doing? I hope everybody's well. I'm going to take this quick moment while we're literally in the middle of session to step away and congratulate all of the phenomenal advocates on the issue of childcare throughout the state of New York. I don't need to tell you, you already know how important childcare is, both those who are parents and those who are not. If you do not have proper access to childcare, your life is limited, because once you have a child, it's your responsibility to make sure that they are well, healthy, and in good shape. Anything else besides that doesn't work for women, doesn't work for parents. And so if you don't have this access, it not only does it limit what you can do, but it limits the economy. It limits the structure of your community. It limits the potential of the entire society to totally take parents out of the dynamic of the economics while they are raising children. It was a mistake when it used to be that way. It's a mistake if we continue to allow it to perpetuate itself. For the first time, I see some differences in what may be happening with childcare in our community, in our society, in our state, but it's not enough. It's not enough. There's no question that there needs to be more. And so I appreciate your continued advocacy on trying to make sure that happens. Lastly, I just want to honor my former colleague, Ellen Jaffe, for the fight, the battle that she put up to have this report done that will take a look at where the accessibility of childcare is in the state of New York. I understand that report is done, and we are all, I'm sure, very much looking forward to the results of it. Although, to be honest, I would probably think that most of you already know the answers to that question, but sometimes it's important to put these things in writing. And so I really do want to honor Ellen Jaffe for her work on that. And I know that once we get a chance to see the report, that we'll all be in better shape. So again, thank you all individually. Thank you all collectively for your advocacy on this most important issue to the economy of the great state of New York, and that's access to childcare. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you so much, Majority Leader People-Stokes. Your information is so important that you bring to us, and I know you're pressed for time. We want to turn it over to Senator Tim Kennedy. He is the chair of the Committee for Transportation. Senator Kennedy.
Yeah, thank you very much. And first of all, I want to thank the Empire State Campaign for Childcare for putting this important event together today. But I want to just recognize Assembly Majority Leader Crystal People-Stokes, who's not only a fellow Buffalonian, but she is such an extraordinary champion. And it is always my privilege to recognize her as the history maker herself, the first woman and first woman of color in the history of New York State to hold her position as majority leader in the New York State Assembly, and a proud mom and grandma. She knows the importance of childcare in our community and in New York State across the board, and making sure that childcare is funded to the appropriate levels to ensure that we allow for families to hit the ground running, especially now We need it now more than ever. You know, we're getting through this catastrophic crisis of our economy and as it pertains to our health and well-being as a state and as a nation and as a global community. And we just need to continue to band together. So to be here with each and every one of you once again, I'm just so proud. I really appreciate the work that you do. We know that this is not a one and done deal. This is not a one-day affair. This is a 365 endeavor. And we're in the fight with you. So thank you for all that each and every one of you do. I want to also recognize my great friend and an extraordinary champion for families across New York. Again, a Western New Yorker, Sherry Scavone of the Western New York Women's Foundation. I just want to give her a shout out because she and my office do tremendous work together. But, you know, we need folks like each and every one of you that are on the ground, that are in the community, that are informing us on the decisions that we're making up here in the state capitol. And that's where I'm at. I'm at my desk. I'm right in the middle of conference myself. So I stepped away because I didn't want this event to go by without demonstrating and sharing my support. I'm just so proud to be a partner with all of you. We know how critical it is to provide childcare for New Yorkers. We know that even if you can't afford childcare, that the majority of people in New York State, over 60%, live in childcare deserts. So we need not only a financial framework to support childcare in New York State, but we also need to provide the structure for those resources to take root. And so it is an absolute priority of mine. It is a priority of my Democratic conference in the Senate. We're to continue to fight for sustainable funding for providers, for educators, for parents, and we need to work together to make this happen. Nothing is going to come easy. We know that. We are in it for the long haul. So hopefully we'll get some progress this year. Help is certainly on the way in the form of relief from the federal government. Thankfully, we have an administration at the federal level now that's ready to provide New York with the financial relief that's necessary for us to invest in the most critical of resources. And we know without investing in childcare, families are going to suffer, especially families that are trying to make it, single moms and single dad households that need to have that essential child care to get out into the workforce, to provide for their families and to work their way up. And so thank you for all that you do. And we're looking forward to continuing this fight.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy, for those kind words. We can't do any of this without your help, without the Senate, without the Assembly. So thank you for allowing us to work through you. And now I'd like to give some speaking time to Assembly Member Wallace, who is now ready to speak.
Good morning, good afternoon, I guess. Hold on one second. I just want to. Multitasking. We're in the middle of session, so I've got multiple Zooms going. Apologies for that. So thank you so much for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to speak. I want to thank you and the Western New York Women's Foundation and the Empire State Campaign for Childcare for organizing this forum to talk about how important it is to make sure that we fully fund childcare in the next budget cycle. I also want to mention how grateful I am to be included on a Zoom with my on this meeting with my colleagues who I'm fortunate enough to work with in the Western New York area and in the legislature, Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes, who's just such a force on this issue, and of course, Senator Tim Kennedy, who I share a district with and has just been a tremendous asset and ally to me as a Senate partner. So thank you so much for inviting me. As you know, I am a very staunch advocate of making sure that we have enough money in the budget to fund childcare. It's something that's very near and dear to my heart as someone who was literally one of the initial latchkey kids. As a working mom myself, I understand all of these challenges as well. I was there and I will continue to be there, but I appreciate you asking me to join you back in the summer to call on the governor to release $80 million in the Federal CARES Act funding, which I think we had some success, at least in doing that, to support childcare centers throughout this pandemic. And I appreciate you using this opportunity to elevate what we all know is true, and that affordable, high quality childcare is really an economic development issue, right? First and foremost, because it allows highly talented women to be part of the workforce and to become financially secure in their own right. And I think we can see, as a result of what's going on with the pandemic, even though we knew it to be true, I think the entire world is seeing just how true that really is, with census data showing that single mothers are more often than men losing work. And just in September alone, at the start of the school year, 4 times as many women left the labor force than men. 4 times as many women. And why are they leaving? They're derailing their careers because of this pandemic. It's too hard for them to try to, it's really just like the pandemic has really been a ripping off the Band-Aid and exposing the curtain, turning back the curtain and showing all of these inequities in our society. This is one of the most apparent and vivid that we all knew about, and is just being shown. So, you know, there's been article after article, I know I've seen them, you've seen them, about how the gains that women have made in the past few decades are really threatened to be set back as a result of lack of adequate childcare. So it's an economic development issue for women to become financially secure in their own right. It's an economic development issue for businesses who can use these talents of these amazing women. But it's also an economic development issue because it is helping to prepare the next generation of young people for life in the workforce themselves and be successful and set them up for success. We know that high quality child care affects development for children, right? It affects their brain development. They're more likely to have intellectual and social skills. They're more likely to have fewer arrests and lower juvenile crime rates, higher future earnings, more success in high school, more success at graduating and going to college. So we have it on both ends. We have it on the end of at the beginning and getting these kids ready and successful in life, but also giving their parents the opportunity to succeed and be part of the workforce. So this is an incredibly important issue. I don't want to take up too much time. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this conversation. And you have an ally in me in the New York State Legislature. So thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. And now we need to move speaking time over to Assembly Member Szilagyi. She's been waiting very patiently as well. I know we all have to speak quickly.
No problem. Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, my name is Assemblywoman Szilagyi, and talking fast is my specialty. So don't worry. You know, all my colleagues are really advocating for this, and they're well-spoken. So, you know, I just want to first thank all the advocates. Thank you for being on board. Thank all the childcare providers who are currently struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, using their credit cards, other means to continue their business. I want to say thank you, and we acknowledge you, we see you, and we are fighting for you. We know on a federal level, $40 billion were allocated or supposed to be allocated through Biden's next stimulus act. And that's great. We want 50 billion or more. So the more, the better. And so I encourage you still to reach out to your federal representatives and make sure that they put money into the pot, because the more money we get in the pot, the more that New York State gets that we can allocate. And we make sure that we allocate that unrestricted so that childcare providers can run the business as they will, because we trust parents. We know that when parents put their child in a program, they know that program is a trusted program. So we need to make sure that we get unrestricted aid. And as all my colleagues said before, childcare is economic development. If we want to move New York forward, if we want New York to get back to being the Empire State, one of the greatest states in the nation, we need to invest into childcare providers. We need to invest into women who are leaving the workforce at higher levels because they have to take care of their children. I know my kids are right now doing all the crazy things right now, and I'm in session, I'm with you. And so women, we multitask, we get things done. We're in leadership roles. But at the end of the day, we need New York State to fulfill its commitment. We have to get serious. And we only can do that if we fully fund childcare. The executive budget put out a proposal that right now it's flat funding. And that to me tells me that they don't care about childcare. If they knew that if they invested that money into childcare, that would make dividends. It would bring revenue to the state. It would provide and increase jobs. So let's get smart, New York State. Let's invest into childcare. So I miss you all. I wish we could be on the $1 million staircase, cheering each other on. But you know, that's for another time. Make sure that you get vaccinated when that's available to you. Make sure that you continue advocating and supporting our fellow New Yorkers by providing this great service of childcare. But at the end of the day, we need to continue to advocate and be a loud voice to ensure that childcare is fully funded and that more money is put into this pot. Because if we don't do this, we're failing from the start. So I thank everyone. Have a good afternoon. Bye.
Thank you, Assemblymember Szilagyi. You powers us up, and thank you so much for your advocacy. So next, we'd like to hear from a parent, Stevie Vargas, coming from Albany. Stevie?
Hi, everyone. Actually, I'm a Rochester parent. Hi, I'm Stevie Vargas. I'm the parent of a 3-year-old boy named Peyton in the city of Rochester. I can honestly say that if I did not have access to childcare or funds for childcare, I would not be able to hold my current job. As a single parent, I rely on childcare so that I can continue to provide for my family. Being first generation comes with a lot of responsibilities. And for a lot of people with my background, it's not uncommon to be financially responsible for multiple people in your family. Having childcare allows me to continue to provide in ways that I will not be able to without access to these essential services. On a personal note, my child is not my biological child. He's my nephew, who I'm in the process of adopting. He had a rough entry into the world, and becoming a foster parent allowed me to have access to resources that allowed me to step up and care for my nephew so that he could remain in the family and keep his cultural ties. Some of the resources included in foster care was paying for childcare. As a person who barely made minimum wage at the time when I took on this responsibility to care for him, without that vital resource, I would not have been able to care for him due to childcare being the price of a mortgage. As a parent, I am deeply concerned because once I adopt him, these payments stop. And the resources I have access to right now should be available to all parents, regardless of their status, regardless if they're a foster parent or an adoptive parent. All families should have access to childcare. And once those payments stop, questions arise. And when these questions arise, so distress. How will I work? What bills will I fall behind on? How will my nephew be impacted? These are the years where childcare and early access is crucial for his development. In all honesty, his childcare teachers do not get paid enough. The services they provide for working families are crucial to our survival and for the growth of our communities. If we continue to devalue these services, if we continue to devalue childcare workers, we in turn devalue our communities and Black, brown, and poor working families. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stevie. And now we have our very own Gladys Jones, representing the voice of family childcare and the investment we need in childcare. Gladys, we have a little under 2 minutes.
Okay, to whom it may concern, I believe in hope and change. You have heard our stories for different modalities, parents, employers, employees, stakeholders, legislators, and childcare providers. Suffering is suffering. 2020, a very difficult year for humankind, highlighting the inequalities and lack of investment in one of the most important infrastructures of the world, early care and education. President Biden, our Governor Cuomo, and others are talking about child care and investments. It is a start, but we need more than talk. We need action, and we need money. The action starts here by every person in this event and beyond. There's a state budget deficit, but this state is wealthy. Let's tax the rich. The priority of the nation is our children. New York is a place in which people from all countries and backgrounds in huge numbers can band together to democratically achieve mutual goals. We lead uninhibited as far as we will take ourselves. We are able to express how systems are broken, demonstrate the possibilities of improvement, and know that our childcare systems are critically wounded. Childcare is dying. We know that New York State can lead and change that needs to happen across the country. Investment in early care and education being one of the priority. We are a representation of the childcare workforce who are largely overlooked as a professional workforce to serve aid. New York is a leading state in many industries across the country. Listening to the lay people, drawing attention to our own professions and inspiring the energy to other workforces, respect of this profession by the folks that can make the changes in government. Our families and educators feel respected and provided for, they will in turn pass it on to the level of care they have themselves been given. It is a symbolic relationship. Providers are raising children. If we are not supported, we will not be equipped to provide for the next generation. The voice of the working class is needed for their own survival. When people are in the grind of survival, it is so difficult to find the energy to speak up on their experiences and what their needs are. It is the responsibility of every living soul to care and invest in our children. The success of our state's recovery is investment in childcare. We must believe, we must have hope that change is going to come. Let's make it our reality. What do we want? What do we need? The $450 million to where it belongs. New York, invest in childcare. Join Empire State Child Care Campaign. I invite you all. We must continue the fight until they get it right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gladys Jones from ECE on the Move, representing family child care and exemplifying why this is beyond just child care. It's also family child care, all modalities, this concern for extra money in the budget. So now we want to, she's been waiting very patiently from the office of Senator Robert Jackson. Johanna, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, thank you so much for waiting. You've been so patient, and you have about a minute and a half.
Yeah, no, I understand. Thankfully, a lot of what Senator Jackson wanted to communicate has been communicated. Without a doubt, we must make sure that the money that was earmarked for childcare gets to childcare. No if buts, no negotiation, no budget dance around that. That's not open for discussion, period. And we have to make sure that we build something that's sustainable. We are in a window of opportunity. It is a crisis that has racked so many homes, especially homes that depend on childcare. Childcare providers were the essential workers for the essential workers. Can you imagine? Before this crisis, no one paid attention to essential workers. We clapped at 7 p.m. every day because they were heroes, but so forgotten were literally the backbone of those essential workers to be able to feed and heal New Yorkers. And that was you. Those were the childcare providers. And we need to give them what they're owed. We need to make sure that they provide the care that is so essential to the development of humankind with dignity and the respect that they deserve. It is no coincidence that this is an industry where the majority are women. This is an issue of gender justice. It is because of gender justice that we must make sure we raise our voices to make sure that justice is met with pay equity. It is met with the care and the health that this industry deserves to be sustainable, not just this year, but lifelong, because what you build in these early years of our children or our youth is a lifelong investment, and we need to invest in this industry. If you hear me a little bit passionate, I don't mind having waited so long because number one, if you know my senator, he's very passionate when it comes to youth. But I come to you as a single mother of 3 children, and the first person that cared for my child was a family child care provider. And I also worked in early Head Start and Head Start, and I opened a not-for-profit, and I was a master trainer and provided training and support for family and group daycare providers. I feel a special kinship, understanding how unfair this society has been to childcare providers, how much against the grain, how extra you give to these little souls every single day, and you don't get nearly enough back. You do so much to sustain families, and it is time for government and elected officials to do everything they can to sustain you and to support families out of the catch-22 of making too much to be able to afford childcare. It is an unfair practice, and it's something that has to stop now. So I am with you, and I'm here on behalf of Senator Jackson, and let's move forward and get this money.
Thank you so much, Johanna. Thank you for waiting. Also, thank you for supporting our Senator Jackson, who's always been a wonderful champion for childcare. And right now it is past 2 o'clock. We said the rally was going to be over at 2. However, we'll still be out here and available if there are any other legislators, anyone else who wants to speak. We'll be open for a little bit. If you can say you'd like to speak now. If we missed anybody or if we're still waiting, I know we're still waiting for Assembly Member Sarah Clark from Rochester. If she's here, we'd love to hear from you. And so at this time, the floor is open for any legislator who'd like to make comment. Just take a few moments to see if the new Assembly Member, Sarah Clark, is available.
So Assemblymember Clark should be joining us in a moment, but she's, yeah, any moment. In the meantime, please, if you're not a member of the Empire State Campaign for Childcare and you would like to be, please go to our website and look around. You will see lots of information about our founding and our current activities, and join up. And if you look in the link, Katie just posted it, it's empirestatechildcare.org. Thank you.
And just want to let people know, we have a lot of providers. We have parents in leadership. This is not just a place for policy experts or professional advocates. We need you engaged. We need your voice. We need all the knowledge that you bring from your experience. We have an action, committee. We have a social media committee. We have a legislative committee. We're working on our budget now, but we're also working on how to get federal child care money out to the people most impacted more quickly, more effectively. So lots of places for you to plug in. After this event today, you will start to get some communication from us. You can opt out if you want, but we really hope that you stay with us. And we're going to be doing advocacy days online every Tuesday in February, because the budget process at the state legislature lasts between now and April 1st. They have to have a budget passed by April 1st. So we have just a couple months here to convince them to give us the funding we need. They also have a deadline in late February to come up with a plan of how to put out federal money and how to use federal childcare money in New York. So we have to influence that. So please participate. Do we have our legislator in the House yet, Dee Dee?
Yes. Hi. Yes, Assemblymember Clark is here. Welcome.
Oh.
Thank you. Woohoo! I figured how to.
Yeah, you're sideways on our screen. I don't know.
Oh, does that better?
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here. We're in session, so I wanted to just take a quick break and come talk about my favorite subject in the whole wide world, which is supporting childcare. I'm sorry I missed everything earlier, but I just wanted to reaffirm my commitment, as with many of my colleagues, to make sure that we are committed to childcare moving forward in our state. We know the ecosystem was fragile before COVID. It's even worse off now, and there's so much more we need to do to not only shore it up and make it stronger again, but actually really invest in it for our families. So although we're excited that there's been some federal dollars coming our way through various relief packages, it's really also time for the state to look at some revenue raisers so that we can truly invest in our families and childcare. We need to cover sick days for families who are on subsidies. We need to cap co-pays. We need to Make sure we're expanding eligibility to higher incomes. Childcare is often as expensive as college tuition, and so many of our families are struggling to pay the costs of it. We need to help providers. We need to continue to support them through background check fees, and we need to make sure that we're supporting childcare workers and that they're making wages they can live on. So you have so many allies in the assembly, including myself, but I'm here because it's really, really important to me. We cannot recover as a state. Our economy cannot recover. Businesses cannot reopen. People cannot go back to work unless we invest in childcare. So I am here. I'm a mom of 3. For those who don't know me, I'm Sarah Clark in Rochester, and I'm a mom of 3 who had many childcare issues my entire life. And so not only do I know it from the legislation and the funding places, but I also know it from being just a mom and the struggles I face every day. So I'm just excited for your enthusiasm. I'm excited to meet with you all and really just here to be your advocate. So thank you.
Thank you, Assembly Member Clark. And I guess at this time, if there are no other speakers, I'm sorry, Senator Biaggi here? No? Okay. If this is the time of, if there are any other legislators here who would like to comment, this would be a great time.
I think we have everybody. Shanita Bowen, thank you so much for being our MC today. Shanita is from ECE on the Move, that amazing New York City organization. Yay, and so many great speakers, so much work done to pull this all together. Thank you everybody who came on the call, hundreds of people today. Now let's win this money for childcare.
And thank you, Blue, for keeping us organized.
All right,
thank you for the whole childcare community for coming through.
Okay, I got one thing to say. Show me the money.
Yeah, show me the money.
Sí se puede.
Sí se puede. Thank you.
Mic's off, everybody. Hooray.
Okay, stop the recording, please.